back to your analogy to the caveman and 100,000 years ago and how we lived into just our 20s or 30s. And we have the evolutionary sort of baggage or legacy of that in terms of many of our enzymes, hormones beginning to drop off around that age.
Yes, exactly.
What's your feeling about replacement therapies to replace those decreasing substances?
Yeah, I think that it is important to try and get us to homeostasis again, get us back to baseline. So I do testosterone supplementation. I use a peptide to boost my IGF-1 levels, and a variety of things. And I won't go into a list of them here, but I've had the chance to start two companies, one called Fountain Life that we can talk about that really is a diagnostic side of the equation, a therapeutic side of the equation. On the therapeutic side, it really is about how do we bring you back to, hormone optimization versus just supplementation. Where should you be? And then another company I'd started with Tony Robbins called Life Force that is similarly with peptides, medicines, hormones, really trying to get you back to a baseline. So do I believe that that we need to supplement what we have? Absolutely. I'm also a big believer in the power to restore our stem cell populations, our regenerative engine of our body, right? It's not legal in the United States other than your own stem cells from fat or bone marrow. But the research will get done. One of the companies I co-founded with Bob Haruri, who's the chairman, CEO of Cellularity, I serve as the co-founder and vice chairman, is the largest placental facility out there. We have stored hundreds of thousands of placentas. We decellularize those to bring out the natural killer cells, the T cells, the stem cells, and the exosomes that are then really developed as cellular medicines to address everything from immune function to sarcopenia to wound healing to really the natural killer cells being used to fight a number of different cancers in clinical trials today.
You mentioned in that comment exosomes.
Yes.
What's your opinion on their value in terms of longevity?
So I think exosomes, again, are in the gray zone from the perspective of the FDA today. I think that we need to give those companies support to produce those because I think there is value for them. I have used exosomes myself in terms of accelerating wound healing, post-surgical, and I think that this is really, it's giving your body the growth signals and repair signals that it might have done in your 20s, but in your 50s, 60s, 70s no longer has the capability to provide. So a lot of research still to be done, a lot of work under IRBs and INDs, but I think these are incredibly important tools. There's a company I'm an advisor and investor to called Immunis that has been really is in human clinical trials right now, pulling, taking the exudate of stem cells, really all of the growth factors and the exosomes, and using that as a mechanism to stimulate and maintain muscle mass. Now, I think most everybody here will know muscle mass is one of the critical factors for longevity. There's a direct correlation between your muscle mass, and so I'm fighting sarcopenia every day. I'm 61 and I work out. I've increased my protein intake to handle it, but I would love any other technologies that allow me to maintain a significant level of muscle.
So these approaches that you're just describing, including stem cells, et cetera, what's the time frame in terms of when they might be fully available?
So they are available outside the United States today. We don't, at Fountain Life on the therapeutic side, we don't provide stem cells domestically today. We send people, we vetted 6 or 7 different stem cell clinics outside the US and the Caribbean, Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, other locations. And we've sent our members to the Regenerative Medicine Institute in Costa Rica, Dr. Vince Giampapa there, just because the level of service and the science there we think is very high. We've been looking with Cellularity to implement an IND to look at placental-derived stem cells. So we're going to see this over the next, increasing in capability, but under really critically vetted scientific measures and data collection. Right, we need to collect the data to make sure that it is safe and efficacious, and under what conditions it is so. So I think that's this decade. But stem cell exhaustion is definitively one of the hallmarks of aging, right? I mean, if you look at stem cell populations in a newborn, compared to someone in my age, in every different segment of tissues, we've seen stem cell reduction by a factor of 100 to 1,000-fold. And that's challenging. It's challenging in your ability to repair, and challenging in your ability to maintain functionality and vitality of those tissues and organs.
Yeah. And so, like, back to some of these supplements, for example, NAD, which is so important to the health of our mitochondria. What's your opinion in terms of when you take these supplements? Do you believe they're actually going to where they
Great question.
have an impact?
So NAD obviously is not a supplement. It is the powerhouse inside the cell, right?
Right.
The precursor, there's no carrier molecule for NAD to get it across the cell membrane that we know right now, and the precursors are NMN and NR. And I do take about a gram of NMN every day. Do I feel a physiological difference from that? Maybe. But I think it's more based on belief than anything else. And there is good science data in animal studies today, not human studies. There is a study going on right now by a company called Metro Biotech, run by a friend of mine, which is doing a study with the U.S. Special Forces. And they have a very purified form of NMN called MIB626 that they're looking at, and they're providing under a clinical study, under a double-blind study with Special Forces, looking at increased muscle strength and cognitive capability. And the early study results were very positive, and we'll see where that plays out over the next few years. So am I excited? Yes. Do I think we've really hit the knee of the curve yet? No. I think we're going to see massive data sets being analyzed by AI in the next 1 to 4 years, and then quantum technologies really making a huge dent in this in the next 4 to 6 years.
That's quite something else for us to look forward to.
It is, and I think having something to look forward to is part of that mindset element.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.